All right, welcome everybody. I am Pato, and this is going to be a Duelyst patch rundown for patch .36. With me, I have El Mambistio and a brand new guest of the show, the King of Magmar, or I guess the Father of Magmar. We'll call him in this one at least. He could be both, I guess. He could be the dad. Maybe Elman's the Prince of Magmar now. Who knows? But anyways, it's going to be Dresbo. Welcome to the show, man.
Content.
Well, there you have it. Well, let's just jump into some of these the quick changes that happened this patch. New emotes, so now you're gonna actually be able to unlock emotes for your specific faction. So no longer is Songhai just the angry race. Now we actually have other ones that show how cool and successful and talented we are, which I really appreciate. And then we also have the ability also to mute other players if they're spamming too many emotes at you. So if you're one of those people that hates to see emotes, although I love to see them for my opponents, you can just mute their little portrait and get that out of the way. Are you guys excited about these emotes?
Oh yeah.
What's
Can't
your
wait to bring the swag on with the glasses.
what's your emotes of choice?
Always kissy face. Never not kissy face.
Oh man, do
Um,
you have a favorite emote?
I I always have difficulty emoting because people will do like all of them, but like at different times. And I'm like, well, uh, you didn't like my play, so I guess you did like sad Magmar. I guess my play was really good. I'll do happy Lionar. I don't know, like so yeah. And they will play Kissy. I'm sorry, the hello and kissy face. It's like kind of standard. I'll say hi to someone with good luck, have fun, and they'll be like kissy face back instead of good luck, have fun back. So it's kind of cool.
Yeah, well, free Paddle guide advice. I know this is gonna out me and make it completely not relevant. Although maybe I'll just be gaming even more. But technically, I usually use my emotes a lot to get my players to like do certain plays. Like if they're doing something that like I want them to do, I'll start making sad faces. Like, oh no, I'm so sad that you're doing this to me. In order for like to hopefully they just do it, or like they won't move their guy like just because like they're like I'm like, oh look, see, I got him, overconfidence, and then I strike by and I blow him out the next turn. So clearly, so if you ever see sad faces from me, you probably should think about what you're doing and do something else because I probably want you to do it. Unless you have a better play, then you're just done for. So
Man, emo metagame is real.
it is. I know. And with these new unlocked emotes, I mean, the game can get really deep. We'll be knee deep in gamesmanship, everybody. We actually have a new feature in here. It's going to report a player feature where you can actually, if you have a bad, scumbag player out there that's maybe doing something you don't like, and they're whatever, you can report them now. I'm sure a lot of it's going to be placebo at first, obviously, for some people to feel better. But down the line, I mean, this is going to actually help point out problem players if actually people are being jerks out there. So we'll see how it goes. These It's always interesting in games when you try to have any sort of feature like this. So hopefully, people use it for good instead of evil, and we'll see how it all pans out in the end. Interesting how Counterplay actually utilizes this because they could get a lot of reports for the size of their team currently. So maybe they'll have to be staffing up here soon. But with that, also we have some play. Changes, adjustments. So now no longer it's play 4 games to get 10 gold. Now it's actually going to be win 3 games to get some gold. So Dresbo, as someone that wins a lot, how do you feel about this change?
Well, recently got my 50 win streak, so kind of upset that this patch didn't come through last week. But ignoring that, I'm actually I'm kind of I got mixed feelings about it because I agree with a lot of the feedback that we've gotten so far is that people are kind of unhappy with this change because they didn't put out the rest of the changes to counteract this, so we can still have meaningful games even though you didn't lose. And by meaningful, I mean like gold progression.
Yeah.
However, I'm with the sort of the quieter, I guess you could say minority since I haven't been talking much, that we should still wait to see what else they have in store because they did announce that this is going to happen similar to the patches before in a part by part step going in on a weekly basis.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot they're trying to push out over these next couple of weeks. So yeah, it's like it feels kind of messy because the full system's not there yet. But in the meantime, I'm willing to give them the benefit of the doubt to wait a week or two and see if the rest of the stuff can come online to kind of make up for it. But already some cool stuff that I didn't necessarily expect them to get in that's starting to come in. So we'll see as this evolves. as we go along. With that, though, we actually do have some fun community stuff beyond the patch notes. We have Battle Pets. Congratulations to Symphony for pulling down the win. And then we also had Kyrie get his monkey in there. I can't remember the name of that. And then Coon, which was this sea creature, I guess, if you will. But how did you guys feel about this contest? What do you think about the winners and the ones runner up? Like, were these kind of the ones that you expected? Were there any that didn't make the cut that you voted for personally that you liked?
Well, I voted. I also, for my 3 votes, I voted for Symphony, Kyre, and Voxel. So I'm glad at least one of those made it through as a winner. I will say that my personal favorite was Kyre's, the monkey. I don't know, just it's adorable. I mean, as all of them were, but monkeys is soft spot in my heart for him.
Yeah, where'd you fall on that, L-Man?
So the one thing I voted for symphonies too. The one thing that I really liked was the swimsuit or whatever. I actually saw like 3 different perspectives looking at it. Looked like sort of like music notes, and it also could have been interpreted as like kind of from space. And it also got, if you turn your head sideways, you can kind of see like a snake mouth at the bottom of the swimsuit. So I saw those 3 things. I was like, that's really cool to me.
Yeah, I
The
think
musical note sphere is like just awesome. So.
Yeah, I think, when I looked at a lot of the ones that kind of came out of this was definitely the one that stood out to me. It's like, okay, if you gave this to, like, the Duelyst artist, you're going to get something, like, pretty crazy. And obviously a lot of these were already pretty formed to what they would be, but this was one where, I could definitely see, like, by the time this comes out the other end, it's going to be pretty awesome. So excited to see what Symphony's Battle Pet looks like in the end, and also see what Battle Pets do in the end, right? Because we still have we know we see them on the giant wallpaper that they launched that has all the units on it, but we don't necessarily know necessarily what they are, what they're going to do. So definitely cool to him to get a unit in the game and see where battle pets go. We might have our own little mini Pokemon battle arena inside Duelyst. Who knows what they're going to do with that stuff?
Oh man, potential mini games. What is this?
Oh, they make up for the goal progression there.
Easy.
Easy win. Anyways, beyond that though, we just had the first Popper tournament for beta that went down, and we actually had a pretty epic match, which ended up with Cowrell versus Helios on a Vanar versus Magmar match. I didn't get a chance to see all of it except for the finals, and I know Elman Bustio was there for most of it, so I'm going to pass this over to Elman to kind of run us through what the big kind of takeaways from the tournament were.
Yeah, so again, I'm gonna like kind of brag and say that I did call Vanar and Magmar were probably the 2 strongest Popper factions. The thing to start with though was we did have Popper in Alpha, but it was only commons and starters. So
Yeah.
besides that, there was a lot of variety changes. Like there have been rares and commons before. War Beast would be in the game in the format, but now it's an epic, and they gain things like Spirit Harvester. And I mentioned Spirit Harvester because I expected it to be in the decks, but it wasn't at all. Banner has always kind of excelled with just commons and rares. Like, yeah, they have some pretty powerful legendaries, but Hailstone Prince is just like bonkers for a common. I only
Yeah,
like a
I
solitude.
would have to agree.
Yeah, it's like
Yeah,
they have a
it's
lot.
nuts.
Like Razor is like anything plus Razor trades up. So like even if you have big dudes, even if you leave like a Heart Sister up, it's gonna trade up with like a Solitaire. Like that's how crazy the card is. And like it's really Razor's like insanely underrated. But if you think about it, it's kind of like a Scion's Third Wish that's global and unlimited targets. So and it puts a body on the board itself. So it's like this insanely powerful rare that people kind of overlooked. They overlooked Banner as a faction. About that card
Yeah.
order.
I'd have to try to think of more like direct comparison would be Soul Shatter Pact from Abyssian. However, I'm not sure if it is to like the same extent because the attack is persistent, but Abyssian is more
A closer number.
weenie. Yeah, they have more like minions out, so I can take advantage of it more often. Also, Razorback, and you could say the same about Venar with their walls, but Razorback doesn't target them. So
And
still a great card though.
part of the reason I like besides it's permanent on Science Derwish, but the reason I kind of mentioned Derwish also is because people think Science Derwish is a great card and it's a legendary and oh my god, like all this power behind a legendary, and then you have Banner has it kind of like on a rare, and it's like
Yeah,
okay, if you're valuing Derwish that much, then you should be valuing Razor as like this insane card. Of course, it's available in poppers, so it's like even better. So another thing that I really liked, because I'm probably the only fan, well, me and Calrel, because he played the card, but me and Calrel are probably the only ones who are fans of Unstable Leviathan, which is kind of like, if you're in Popper, he's bigger than any golem, and he has an ability. And it's like, you just can't deal with 11-11. That's 2 shots to the face that kill you, or 2 attacks to the face kill you. Just for 4 can be like super huge.
yeah, and a lot of the popper removal is either hard to come by or has quite a downside, such as Martyrdom.
Right. Like, yeah, that's the thing
Yeah.
that came up a lot.
Or they're
It was
trying to
like,
rely on something like Dispel or something, which obviously doesn't really work against a stable Leviathan. It's just a 11-11 that now doesn't punch your general or himself in the face. So sometimes it feels really nice in that respect. But when he does hit like your board on top of being the 11-11, that's when it's just like that really big gut check where you're just like, like even if you have distance, you're just like, that was still just like 4 unwarranted damage from this giant thing that I still have to deal with.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of things like just because mentioned, the removal is kind of awkward in Popper because some of it's locked away in the hierarchies. Like Songhai couldn't do Onyx Bear.
Yeah, it's only damage removal, so they'd pretty much be at the mercy of that 11-11 and just be running away for their lives in most cases. Or Death Strike ceiling, basically.
On specific matchups though, I will say like you guys might know Calrail, but the winner of the tournament, Helios, he was the one playing Banner and ended up taking the whole thing. So I gotta say, he was kind of YOLO a lot of that game. He had his reasons. There was comments on talking with people on the hip chat and threads and stuff like that the commentators, including me, were maybe too harsh. It's partially true and partially not true because like he did YOLO pretty much the whole time, but it is true that we were slightly unfair because sometimes when he did quote unquote YOLO, like for example, we're like, oh, he's gonna get killed by claws, but the guy had already used, like Carol had already used 1 claws, so what was the actual likelihood of seeing 1 or double claws, right? So we're probably like slightly harsh, but some of them was really YOLO. Like he was 1 frenzy away from getting punished many times.
Yeah. I mean, I don't blame you guys though. It's kind of like it's hard to really be not harsh to it because the player's not there to like, well, not really defend themselves, but just explain why they went down with that line of play. And as a caster, you have to explore like as many options as possible to like find reasoning behind it. So, like, I do agree though with the not with you guys being too harsh, but a lot of your criticisms with it because. I mean, not playing around double claws when you essentially have the game. It's a big red flag for me, but he won, so
Yeah. I think though was he kind of didn't explain it right. So let's actually tell his side of the story, right? Not just like
yeah.
defend the casters. He basically thought that his deck would fall off. So it might have been true, but part of he thought his deck was fall off, so he's trying to surrogate. He doesn't think he can take it into late game. Part of the reason we didn't really agree was because basically the tempo reset from Hailstone, even in late game, is like even stronger. So even if it gets to like unstable Leviathan level, like Carol can afford to play that card. Even Silitar are kind of like a huge loss. So instead, like let's say instead of him having 8 turns to win or whatever, he more has like 12 because he actually has like foxes and hailstones. Sort of a lot of medium threats, yeah. So I think he had a bigger clock than he thought he had. But either way, like like it was slightly maybe too much like, oh, he shouldn't do this or that or whatever. But yeah, he played it. He played it fine for the most part. Some of them were calculated risks, and yeah, congratulations to him.
Hmm.
Yeah, and
And we
shout
must
out,
give him a
yeah, and shout out to Slade for picking up the tournament and running it. I know Akratar had been carrying the torch for a little bit, and kind of as the tournament goes around. But glad someone got out there and started running in. It looks like there was like 45 players for it, which is a lot of players for a tournament.
oh
Compared
yeah,
to, I think that's up there with the highest number we've had for tournaments, pretty easily.
definitely a huge turnout.
Which is awesome to see. I mean, clearly, like, I think before when we talked about like the popper tournaments, and we ran like the common and under and stuff like that. A lot of it was around the fact that Magmar had War Beast in its rare slot too, and so there's like a lot of talk about like, okay, if we go to rares, like Magmar's gonna have too much, so that went under. Then War Beast got changed to epic. Some other stuff got shifted around. Do we feel like there were any other factions that, like, besides Vanar and Magmar, that like could have been potential winners against these factions, or do we feel like these two factions were pretty high up there and it would be really hard to crack into that top group if you were playing a faction that wasn't those factions?
I like the Lion-R lot because I kind of looked at I didn't play myself, but I was interested at first, and I kind of looked at it similar to Gauntlet
Mm-hmm.
due to the lower rarities being more popular. I like Lion-R a lot because of their the solid minions and things like Windblade Adept, Silverguard Knight, and even Suntide Maiden, because just this a sustain factor that they have going on for them, and Divine Bond being, I believe, a basic. Like there's your win condition right there. It was a bit straightforward though, and they probably have a rough time against the Venar because of Hillsong Prison and Aspect of Fox, really efficient, cheaper removals.
Oh yeah,
But yeah, I think Lion-R was definitely one of the top picks though.
I see that Strubler actually ran Abyssian that tournament. Elman, do you know like what type of Abyssian he was running? Was he actually
Yeah,
throwing in
yeah,
Shadow
that was
Creep or?
casted. Yeah, that was casted, and I'm pretty sure what we saw was basically Face Abyssian, aka Dark Seeds, Tigers, Shower Reflections, everything goes face. Provoked it, it would whip your guys, aka Demonic Lure, or repulsor your guys away and keep going face.
It's interesting.
It was pretty fast because like it was kind of like sort of like nothing happens because the damage isn't quite there. But when it gets to 6 mana and it's like Tiger Reflection, you take 9, you're like, well, I guess I died. Like kind of like when you drop on curve 2, you're like, okay, Iron Cliff, okay, Whip. I have like 3 or 4 more mana to work with, and it's all going face. Something that happens a lot with the decks that happened to Karel, to Lion-R, even to Vanar in some of the games, is they have full hands a lot of the time because they're going for late game and playing a bunch of curve. So they have full hand. Darkseid's always doing 6. Just it's kind of like racing the healing versus the damage. Like Lion-R had healing for 0 and Magmar's have Sphere. Sometimes they'll have the faction healing and rejuvenators. So that made it hard for Abyssian to win, but in general, it was doing a ton of damage. It actually killed some people before they could heal, kind of thing. Because they would be like, okay, on 5, I'm gonna like Iron Cliff or whatever, like or 4 Scimitar, and you're like, Rush Reflection 9 you. You're like, well, I guess I died before I healed. So it actually took a couple of surprise games. I don't remember where he ended up being in the tournament. I think he ended up top 4 maybe.
Yeah. Yeah, he ended up 4th place. And I mean, look at the top. I mean, there was actually like a few Abyssians that cracked into the top 8, basically probably running similar shticks. But overall, though, like typically past tournaments, we've actually had like some representative like sneak in. But it seems like the predominant like number of people playing, and maybe it's just this tournament too, because of what the power factions were perceived to be between Lion-R, Magmar, Abyssian, and Vanar. It looks like. But pretty much there wasn't a lot of Songhai players, wasn't a lot of Vitruvian players. Do you think that Songhai and Vitruvian just kind of don't have the tools at that range, or they're missing too much of their power by taking out epics and legendaries, and that's why they didn't fare as well this tournament? Or do you think they actually have some budget decks that could make a run.
I think I think Songhai hurts the most from this because like you were saying earlier with the Cantor Warbeast, Spiral Technique was a rare before, if I recall correctly. That was a really nice finisher in formats like this one. And being moved to Epic kind of ruined that this finisher threat that they had. So now
Yeah.
it was really just think and dunk. And they didn't really have those options available with stuff like Lantern Fox taken out.
Yeah, I think it ends up being pretty hard because most of their ways to generate a lot of damage would have been like Chakri Avatar or something that like and then as soon as you silence it, I mean it's not an OTK combo, so anything that really wanted to run heal against them might be tough to overcome. I'd be interested to see like what the Songhai decks were that were run, but yeah, I kind of agree. They miss a lot of their cards that are kind of their like okay, this is how I'm gonna like get around this matchup card or like their big impact cards. So it would be interesting to see because they're pretty much tied a lot to those to some of those legendaries too to work some magic in some of their decks.
As far as Vitruvian, I think they just get hit so hard when they lose Star's Fury. That card goes into pretty much every Vitruvian deck. Even if you're not rushing, like even if you're rush or control, you use it accordingly to your plan, but it's pretty much always in your deck.
Yeah.
That card hurts them like so much, just not.
Yeah, and they also
some
lose
of
Ankh
their-
too, so they don't have their
Yeah.
real artifact threat like they normally would.
So like those two are really key, and they can't even like if you go ranked, you're kind of taking for granted that they're gonna blow up your artifacts with Rashas, but they don't have that either. So they have to deal with things like a normal faction, quote unquote. But yeah, they just get hurt by a few things, and it's kind of hard to find something that like replaces that much power. I think their best card, Popper, would have probably been like Enslave, but then they didn't really acquire too much. I feel like it's kind of hard to play Vitruvian anyways, and it's also hard to find. You have to answer everything in Vitruvian with the right answer, or you're kind of wasting it. Like if you like Sand Trap or Vocal Reaver, it feels awesome, right? Because it's just there, like pay 2 to soft kill at 6 mana, right? But like if you don't use the answers like exactly perfectly, then and with the lack of answers because you went down to Popper, then it kind of becomes like really troublesome.
Yeah, you can see just looking at the participation from the tournament, looks like only there were 2 Vitruvians represented who actually just played.
Yeah, 2 Vitruvians. Looks like 3, 4 Songhai players. So no, and again, to be perfectly honest too, like this is a single elimination tournament, so even though they're like best of threes, there still is like a lot of like there's not a lot of comeback potential, right? You're pretty much one and done. So I mean,
Yeah,
it's not always the best like view of this, but it's, for this style of tournament, I feel like it kind of panned out how a lot of people felt like it would, especially at least Elman the Prophet thought it would. So yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, overall though, it seemed I'm just really happy that we're already getting tournaments where a lot of people are diving in and playing, and so excited to see this tournament take off, and I hope to see even cooler tournaments in the future. Do you guys have any other big takeaways for stuff you would like to see in future tournaments, or like, do you have any cool
Yes.
decks you guys are working on that you think you wanna bring out that you're not that you wouldn't be known for maybe?
So
Any
I'll
secret
say
tech?
I'll say for that tournament, I really wanted to see Spirit Harvester because that card is just like incredibly underrated. But I think like people fell into traps, and the biggest one was Lionar. Oh, I have to play Iron Cliff. He's a great card, but I think like a lot of the matchups were kind of easily lost because they were playing a curve that strictly dies to Plasma Storm.
Yeah,
So, and Lionar is like the biggest at fault of doing this. I think Dancing Blades is nuts. That card dominated the commons format too. It was in Calrails and in Helios's deck. You've seen me like kind of smack talk of Dance of the Fox, and no one knows what the hell I'm talking about in the hip chat every time I say Dance of the Fox. the aspect of the Fox plus Dancing Blades basically one shots anything in the game as long as you have the
Mm.
positioning on the blades. Format is even better because hard to match that kind of power level and drop a 4-6 at the same time. So it's like Dancing Blades is just insane. I think Lionel should just play Dancing Blades as their 5 or maybe more than 3 5s in their deck. I think everyone should just play Dancing Blades, even though like yeah, it might be like kind of boring or whatever, but that card's just nuts in Pauper at least.
Yeah, I mean,
Space Harvester, yeah.
yeah, I would tend to agree with that. And PSA for anybody else that's trying to build around your decks, and you're like, I need something big and beefy to fill my slots in my early deck building. If you have Dancing Blades, just throw them in your deck. They're pretty much like never like a big detriment to play, and a lot of times, even though there's ways to block out not being able to deal damage so because you have to play it in front to deal 3 damage. Usually, most cases you can play the card and hit what you want. So yeah, definitely pick up throwing some Dancing Blades in your decks if you're looking to fill some slots.
Just real quick on like formats, nothing too crazy, right? But like I really like that there was Pauper. I would like it to ramp up to because we haven't seen like the Epic Sundown Pauper, right? So obviously that's like
The next evolution.
step. Yeah, yeah.
Pauper evolved.
And people did say, even Slade mentioned already, that they want to kind of separate the tournaments out. So I feel like it's gonna be like the legendary tournaments and then off format tournaments. It'll be cool to see what people wanted those. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. I don't have any specific ideas for them, but I do like that progression of like basics, commons, epics, and then finally the legendary ones, and then the format tournaments like format.
Yeah, I'm just glad to see tournaments in general. Just really happy with just the turnout and people just going out of their way, setting up these events. It's just really good for the community. I'm glad to see it.
Yeah, for sure. And with that, that's gonna wrap up this episode of Duelyst Rundown for Patch Point 36. Thanks again to LMBCO and Dresbo for joining me on this episode. I am actually in the process of preparing to get married, so I probably won't be on the next episode. Our fearless new captain, El Mambicio, will probably take away the next one. But I look forward to hearing what you guys have to say, and I hope you all join us back and see what they churn out, because I'm sure it's going to be some good discussion as always. Thanks, guys.
Bye.